You drinking in the park? You drinking wine?
Well, now, it's a Chinese technique, drunken god.
That is Gordon Liu in Yasuaki Kurata in Heroes of the East, aka Shaolin Challenges Ninja, a 1978 Shaw Brothers film produced and directed by Mona Fong and Lar Carlong, who incidentally has a small cameo in the film as a drunken boxing instructor. This film is a fan favorite, as indicated by the 97% rating on Rotten Tomatoes, and was one of the first films that cast actual Japanese actors and martial artists opposite Chinese ones in an effort to promote unity. This movie stars the aforementioned Gordon Liu as Hato, the son of a wealthy businessman who arranged a marriage between his son and the daughter of his Japanese business partner in an effort to improve business and solidify the future for both families years before. Hato is initially resistant when the time comes for him to marry because he hasn't seen his intended bride since they were kids, but he immediately recants after seeing her as she is stunningly beautiful. The daughter, Kuda, is played by Japanese actress Yuka Mizuno, and she is also smitten with Hato once she sees him. The two are married immediately in a rushed ceremony, and it's not shortly thereafter that all the hijinks begin. Kuda moves into Hato's home, and though she is his wife, she refuses to be subservient to him. This includes forsaking her Japanese culture, particularly her love for Japanese martial arts. The servants, who often hear her yelling and grunting behind closed doors, think that Hato is beating her. The gossip gets back to Hato's father, and before leaving on his business trip, he cautions the two about the dangers of domestic violence and gives his son a strict warning. When Hato confronts his main servant about his father's strange comments, it is revealed that Kuda has been practicing behind closed doors and smashing up the walls and statues. Hato confronts Kuda and asks her to bring it down a notch. This frustrates Kuda as she thinks that she is being suppressed and that the Chinese way is too submissive for her taste. She also is not impressed with Chinese kung fu and makes her feelings known to her husband. This begins an all-out war between husband and wife. China versus Japan. The duo engage in several contests with the husband coming out on top nearly every time. When the wife goes too far during one of their fights, Hato insults her and her tactics, which she takes as an affront to her culture. This ends in Kuda leaving her husband and going back to Japan. In an effort to goad her back into returning, Hato, on the advice of his main servant, writes her a letter challenging her to another contest. Now in the letter, he claims that Chinese Kung Fu is better than Japanese martial arts, and this creates a problem because this letter reaches the eyes of Kuda's instructor and childhood boyfriend, Sanzo, played by Kurata. When Sanzo reads the letter to his master and fellow instructors, they all agree to go to China and meet the challenge from Hato that was originally intended for his wife. Now when the Japanese fighters all arrive at Hato's residence, a fight ensues that ends in further misunderstandings. This prompts the Japanese to challenge Hato to a fight every day for 6 consecutive days. What we get after that is martial arts excellence from some of the best practitioners ever to hit the big screen. We get kendo fighting from Riki Harada, Yujiro Sumai as a karate expert. We get yari, sai, nunchucks, judo, and an ninjutsu battle that is 15 minutes long. I don't want to give too much away, but all I can say is that the Japanese are not the only ones with tricks up their sleeves. Lau Kar-leung does a fantastic job leading this stellar cast and of displaying both cultures with class and pride. In a departure from the norm of Hong Kong movies of that time, Leung makes a brave choice of not stereotyping the Japanese characters as villains, but rather as one side of a coin that has a very different perspective, and ultimately it's about respecting each other's differences and learning from one another. The film portrays both the Japanese characters and their fighting skills with respect while doing something that often is not seen in many films. Nobody dies. This goes to the credit of director Leung, as he was adamant that no deaths would be used in the telling of this story. Gordon Liu does a fantastic job. His martial arts expression is exceptional, especially with his use of a 3-section staff. He is charming, and I like the fact that he still needs help from his teachers and the occasional drunk on the street. Now let's talk about that hair. In a departure from his signature bald look that makes him look badass, Gordon Liu decides to go with a hairpiece in an effort to match Yuzuyaki Kurata's flowing locks, and it looks terrible. Perhaps it was a director's intention to characterize similarities rather than emphasizing distinctions. As far as Kurata's Sanzo is concerned, he portrays his character quite well as an antagonist, foe, friend, confidant, and the one who missed the Kuda boat. Toot toot! He has a quiet confidence about him and an anger that is simmering just beneath the surface, and I love it. It's also interesting to see the journey of Kudo, who initially is a prideful Japanese woman, protective of her culture, incredibly obstinate and resistant to her husband's way of life. Over time, she morphs into her husband's apologist and caring wife, and that's heartwarming to see. This movie is an absolute treat from beginning to end. There's a ton of martial arts action with some great messaging just beneath the surface. So let's talk about it. The pros: this movie has a great story with colorful characters. Their motivations are well defined, and their journeys have differing starting points but common endings. The movie has a wonderful subtext about cultural pride, the power of misunderstandings, and honor. The sole female lead is perfectly cast and performed along with her male counterparts on both sides. The martial arts choreography is really good considering the era. It would be great to see this movie retold with today's martial artists. Can you imagine Donnie Yen and Hiroyuki Sanada playing these roles? Ugh! The cons: other than that hairpiece, there isn't much to dislike about this movie. Heroes of the East is a great way to spend a Saturday afternoon or evening. It's a fun movie, aptly named, with one of the coldest lines ever said in a movie. "Please accept my sword!" So I'll give it 10 kicks. Well, that's all for now. How do you feel about Heroes of the East, aka Shaolin Challenges Ninja? Comment below and let us know. Until next time, this is your boy, OG Ant, signing off. Sayonara. Peace.